Hello, friends. Happy Friday. I'm here covering chapter 15 of The Science of Being Well, and I'm going to just make a really quick post. To see if anybody else in the group wants to join us. All right. Okay, let's get started. So the perfectly healthy way to be well, and that is simple, and that is easy enough for pretty much anybody to do, is this. This is exactly what we've been covering in this book. If you haven't already read through the other chapters, please do so. We're on chapter 15 today. And the fact is about breathing. The chapter today is about breathing. And the fact is, we can know, it seems so basic, right? But it's obvious how important breathing is. What a huge piece of our living breathing is, because, well, I didn't really realize, honestly, until I read this chapter. But it talks about, well, I did, but I hadn't thought about it in this way. So breathing actually concerns the continuance of our life, right? As do many other things. But in breathing is one of these vital functions that we can't go without for very long. We can't go without breathing for very long before we're affected physically. We can go without sleeping. We can go without eating. Most of us can go much longer without eating than we are. I have found, since we've looked at portion sizes in our home, we were eating way too big. Anyway, today's not eating, today's breathing. Okay, so what else? When it concerns the continuance of our life, how much more vital is that every breath that we take, okay, one, not only gives us life, but two, is life. One of the most beautiful statements that I have read in this is that, just that at the end of this, I think it was at the end of breathing or sleeping, but that we are basically breathing in life substance, right? The pieces of life here in our world that we cannot see, we're actually breathing them in every day. And there is a certain way that we can do it. So let's get into a few things. I've got 3 things that I'm going to break down here, real simple, on the act of breathing, because the fact is, breathing is involuntary, but what we breathe, the air, the environment we're in when we breathe, is a choice, and it is our choice how we breathe as well. So let's cover the 3 things. The first thing that Wallace Wattles talks about is keep the physical machinery in good condition, right? So our physical machinery that gives us breath, that helps us to breathe, that does these things, that does this for us. What does all that come down to? A lot of it is our posture. You want to give you the exact words that the book says, because it's really basic and simple, and it's very clear. Straighten up. You want to think the thought, I am perfectly straight. I'm a perfectly straight person. Like, you literally want to be thinking that thought when you straighten up. I am a perfectly straight person. Then you want to slowly draw in your breath. So breathing slowly until you fill your lungs fully. I find I often have had a habit of taking shallow breaths. If you're somebody that goes through pain, and if you're in a lot of stress or anxiety, it is true that you'll often breathe more shallow. So breathing deeper can help to relieve a lot of the other symptoms that come with stress, anxiety, and that kind of thing. Okay, so then stretch your chest. So I take that as just opening up your shoulders. Straighten your spine and exhale easily. I'm reading this off my notes on my computer. So it says to do these things in season, out of season, all times, all places. We're going to make it a habit. So basically, there's not a question of, well, how long do we have to do this? basically till it becomes a habit that you're actually conscious of your posture as you're breathing. And it did take me some time. This is something I've actually been working on for years. I've gone to physical therapy. I've done a lot of studying and Western medicine help for my upper body, my posture, my chest and shoulders and back, upper back, because of some of the issues I deal with. So this actually keeps it really super simple. But as I've been practicing, this is beneficial, even as simple as it is. And Wallace Wattles actually states in this chapter that it is slovenly to not put some focus and some energy into this. It is actually slovenly to do otherwise, to not put in the energy and attention into doing this. And he compares it to actually keeping unmanicured hands, and that, you know, as much as you want to take care of the rest of your body, you want to take care of your posture and your breathing. Okay, then he goes into work. He goes into, you know, what situation are you in your work? It touches on the fact that many work environments and work duties cause us to cave our chest and our spine and lean forward. I know as a photographer for so many years that was the case for me. People that work on the computer, any kind of office work like that, you're going to tend to want to go forward. These are great tips for anybody almost, because most people's work actually keeps them breathing bad. Is that crazy? Or can affect breathing. Okay. Not only that, but you want to work somewhere where there's a clean environment, right? So number 2 is breathing pure air. And that if you are aware that you're not breathing, that you're at work in a work environment that is not clean, and that you're not breathing clean air, that you're don't have access to fresh, pure air, he says get out of that job and get a different one where you can actually know that you have better air quality. And the book that he talks about there is Science of Getting Rich. And there is a series in this group on Science of Getting Rich. So if you need to get out of your job, and if you are looking for other options when it comes to financial success, financial freedom, then you want to go through that study in the files section, Science of Getting Rich. Okay, so it says, don't allow yourself to think that you're compelled, that you must basically live or work somewhere that's not good for your breathing, that is not good for you in that area. Got to look at that too. Okay, so what else? Oh, and the reason, and this is the thing is, he says that if more people basically were to bring up the fact that these companies or these places or wherever it is has low air quality, that employers would be forced to provide better air quality, you know, better environment for their workers. So, you know, if you're somewhere that is like that, you want to bring it up. You want to make it a point to bring that up. Okay, what else? Let's see. Oh, another thing was so funny on exercise. I don't know if you saw this part, but he actually talks about how exercise, what does he say? Let's see. Exercise is burdensome and unnecessary. It was the exact words that were used in this chapter. So in other words, don't think of what you do if you do exercise, it's not that you have to stop or that you don't need to do it, but if it brings you pleasure and if you enjoy it, then definitely go ahead and do it, but do it because it brings you pleasure. Don't do it because of the fact that it has to bring me health, because then subconsciously we're thinking of sickness if we're working out, or if anything we do, if we're doing it to not be sick. Basically this chapter is saying that we're doing it then because for the wrong reason, because basically what we'll be thinking about the whole time is sickness, even though we're trying to help ourselves not be sick. Yeah, you know, so the reason behind whatever you're doing, whether it's exercise, breathing, eating, should always be just to be healthy, not to not be sick. Okay, let's get into it. Breathe pure air. Air is largely a food. So boom, that was big for me. When I read that in this book, I was pretty like, wait a minute, I'm gonna read that again. Other than food, quotes, air is largely a food. It is the most thoroughly alive thing we take into the body. Every breath carries in millions of microbes, many of which are assimilated. This is an amazing, amazing piece here too. The odors from earth, grass, tree, flower, plant, and from cooking foods are foods in themselves. They are minute particles of the substances from which they come, and are often so, I didn't Google this word yet, but I need to, attenuated, that they pass directly from the lungs into the blood and are assimilated without digestion. Like, that paragraph for me was just eye-opening to realize that what we're breathing is actually basically food to our bodies, because it is actually particles. And maybe you already know this. It's super amazing for me. I love learning stuff like this. Okay, so it is the most thoroughly alive thing we take into our body. Every breath carries millions of microbes. So you want to breathe pure air as you can get, because basically whatever you're breathing is becoming you, is what this is saying. So recognize that air is food, basically, and that you want to be putting the best food we can in our bodies, whatever way we're putting it in our bodies. So if it's through breathing, then we want it to be the best that it can be, healthiest it can be. Okay, number 3 is be in grateful meditation. And this book says, as you go to bed. So I choose to really do my first meditations in the morning. I do often meditate again in the evenings or sometime throughout the day, but it definitely focuses on being grateful that we have air to breathe, that we have life to live. You know, what we've been given here today in this moment, in this divine moment that we're in, the life that you're living, exactly where you are right now, is exactly where you're supposed to be, being grateful and thankful, in all things, to go to bed with thankfulness, and with a confident frame of mind, it also says. So it touches on insomnia, and basically what it says about insomnia is don't worry about it. Sleep will come in due time. So we'll never, go so long without sleep that we're going to die. Basically, we'll be okay. I've struggled with insomnia previously in the years previous, and I'm thankful that I'm not going through that now, but I do remember what a struggle it was. So what helped me again was that prayer and meditation in the evenings. I mean, that was one of the things that did help with that. So especially if you struggle with insomnia, work on grateful meditations at night. Okay, the atmosphere is permeated with the one original substance, which is life itself. That's just so beautiful and just life-changing to me. Consciously recognize this when you think of your breathing. And I'm reading this right from the book. Think of breathing in life. You really are. So beautiful. So grateful, thankful to have you here listening. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for your time and watching the replay. If you have any questions, you're welcome to send me a private message or post in the group Freedom Mastery, and I can get to those as soon as possible. And I love you all so much, and I look forward to seeing you again. So I actually did a review of this in Journey to Freedom, and I covered breathing and sleeping. But for this, I'm doing them separate because it'll get too long if I do 2 together for this. So I hope that was good for you and helped you in some way. If you need to download the book or anything, everything is in the file section, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.